You know, when I first started coating decks over a decade ago, every time I coated one, I was a local painter at the time, right? So I would get the opportunity to coat a deck or an outdoor structure a couple times a year, right? And now looking back at the job that we do now compared to, when I first started getting into them, I can tell you that back then I didn't know what I was doing, right? But the process that we've developed now at Kong Armor, Lifetime Deck Armor, the company that I've built, the application process, the coating process, it's 100 times better than what you'll get from a local painter. Not just because our coating system is better, it's far superior than what you'll get from a local painter, right? Our coating system alone, right? It's premium cross-linked elastomer, industrial grade, thick build, high stretch, permanent lifetime deck coating. It just needs washed once a year, spot touched up occasionally, right? But the application process in and of itself, lay all that aside about the coating and everything. The application process in and of itself is extremely better. We actually take the time, and I've had to train men to do this. We actually take the time to actually fill in your fastener entry points, your nail and screw holes. And then on this deck, we're up here, I believe we're in Westchester, I could be wrong about that, but we're up here in north of Cincinnati. This was basically a dilapidated deck floor, an extremely weathered deck floor. It wasn't hugely horrible, wasn't the worst one I've ever seen, but it had thousands of cracks in it, thousands of hairlines in it, right? We've actually taken the time to come in and press into those and fill those in with this high grade commercial elastomer and build this out to a really thick, beautiful, high build synthetic appearance that covers that all in and encapsulates it all, right? So back in the day when I was a local painter and I did a couple of these a year, I never took the time to do any of that. I just came out, and whenever we did one of these, we would, quickly stain it or whatever, and it would leave all the cracks open. It would leave all the fastener entry points uncovered. And so essentially, all I was doing back then was changing the color of decks. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. I was early in my trades career, and I didn't coat decks exclusively. So I had no understanding of what it took to actually protect them. It wasn't until I started warrantying decks. It wasn't until I started working with Kong Armor, the permanent deck coating, the lifetime deck coating, the ultimate in resurfacing, right? And I had to start warrantying my work. It wasn't until then, and multiple trips back out to help customers, that I started understanding, wait a second, this is not working because I'm not filling in the openings on the decks, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not doing that. We're not coating them good enough. We're not doing this good enough. We're not doing that good enough, right? And so all these years later, the only thing that I've done is I've taken and brought an industrial grade coating into the residential segment, and then we've worked to make sure that its application process is 100 times better than what you'll get from any local painter, tradesman, handyman, that type of stuff. Look at the outside. Look how beautiful. This is not a brand new deck system, right? So don't kid yourself. This deck is never going to end up on the front cover of Home and Garden magazine or any of this type of stuff. But what we've done here is, number one, we've brought the ultimate in protection for decks and outdoor structures, the Kong Armor Lifetime Deck Armor System, right? And we've also improved this customer's life, right? Because they don't have to look at that dilapidated structure that they did have. Even though their deck's older, We've just supremely protected it, and we've made it pretty, right? They can come out here and enjoy it now this summer, right? And they'll be able to do that next summer, and the summer after that, and the summer after that, and the summer after that, because Kong's a lifetime coating. It simply just needs washed once a year and occasionally spot touched up if needed. Outside of that, they'll never go through the process of completely painting, staining their deck system ever again. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Back in the day, we would leave all this stuff open, right? We would leave the nails open. We would just coat over these quickly, put the stain on there. The nails and the holes and everything are open. When it rains, water can go down in them and get them and rust them, and then these steps fall apart. We don't do that. I don't do that anymore. So when people ask me, hey, why does Kong Armor demand so much more than a local deck painter or a local painter or just a painter or somebody that could come out and refinish my deck? It's because they don't know what they're doing. Don't you get it? Don't you see that you keep paying to have your deck refinished and finished and finished and finished every 2 to 3 years, and you're right back where you are? It's not their fault. It's not something that they're doing on purpose. It's just that they don't understand what it actually takes to protect a deck or outdoor structure, because they don't understand the forces that affect it. Local painters, they paint inside. They take this job, they take that job, they paint interior walls one week. Next week they're painting a set of cabinets. The next week they're painting somebody's shutters and gutters and front door, and it's just about putting the paint on there and getting paid, right? It's not their fault, and they probably understand the specifications of coating, right? But you have to learn, especially with these old structures, these used structures, you have to learn what it actually takes to protect them, right? And so with the Kong film, right? So with the Kong Armor Lifetime Deck Armor System, we've done the same thing. What is it that this structure actually needs, right? High build, industrial grade film that's rated to take on wind-driven rain, sleet, ice, hail, up to hurricane wind speeds. It has to be thick, it has to be tough. It has to be the ultimate in resurfacing, because we constantly take on old weathered decks. So it has to be able to fill in everything and then bring a high build finish that's pretty. It has to be able to coat wood and composite, right? So right here is composite resurfacing. This is a composite plank coated in Kong, right? It needs 7 to 10 times the amount of UV block that thin residential deck paints and stains have, because they fail too often, right? It needs to have splinter lock technology where it locks down frayed wood, splinters, this type of stuff, right? Because we're constantly dealing with that type of stuff. It has to be rated for foot traffic. It has to be able to take on the foot traffic that the American family puts on it, that the Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky family puts on it. We live on our decks. So when we're using thin residential deck paints and stains that are not rated for foot traffic, and then they fail, and we blame it on the stain or the paint, we're doing the wrong thing. So we made it rated for foot traffic, right? Tough film technology. It's ready to go. It's game. It's game, and it's ready to take on backyard life. The ultimate in resurfacing. That's Kong Armor. With that application process that I just explained to you, with a lifetime limited warranty, and with the only lifetime service promise that exists for a deck coating in the world today, locally backed, right here in your area, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. You need help with our coating system, anytime, life of ownership, we'll come out and we'll help you with it. It's unmatched value across the board. So when I see people paying, yeah, they're not bad guys, but when I see people wasting money with local painters staining and putting thin residential deck paints on their decks, I understand the complete lob it is of that money into a trash can. It's just a complete waste of money. You just wasted your money, right? Listen, I can only bring you so much of the truth, right? Follow us. Follow us on Facebook, Kong Armor. Follow us on YouTube. See how many of these I've done. Talk to my lifetime customers that have been with me for years and years and years, right? What we know is if you follow us, you like us, you start seeing our content, you'll start believing in the power of calm, right? You will start believing in it because it changes the backyard experience, the deck ownership experience, and you'll see that firsthand. Free quote available at kongarmor.com, right? Phone number 859-815-0652. This video is 11 minutes long. It's too long. I gotta go. Get the world's toughest coating system for decks, docks, fences, outdoor structures on the planet today, and get all that special, those features and all that I'm telling you that comes with it. Don't get your money took. See ya.